How's it going, YouTube? Time itself here, and I want to spend a video talking about one of the biggest problems with Black Ops, and that is the spawns and the maps. Instead of just ranting kind of randomly in other videos, I'm just going to put this all together, hopefully make it reasonably concise, and put some good examples in here so that you can see really what I think about this problem. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I can put myself in some bad situations, either just by being over-aggressive or by not paying attention. But normally, I'd like to think that if I'm trying to play it safe, I can do a reasonable job of that. In hindsight, I should have realized that this was a likely place for them to be spawning, and not tried to take cover over here from the guy who had been shooting at me. Fortunately, I have my extended mags AUG and my CZ75 with extended mags, so 45 rounds in the AUG, 18 rounds in the CZ75, and I can take care of a few people before I need to reload. This end of the trailer offers some nice cover and some good lines of sight, both down to the big firing range, behind the trailer, and also over across the B domination point. But watch what happens here. Go ahead and take 3 guys out, and the ones who have just respawned, although they're right behind me, I can't do anything about it. And this sort of thing is a frequent occurrence. So let's go ahead and look at the overhead view. As I go for cover, I run into 3 guys who have just respawned, and managed to take all of them out. It was kind of cool. And the game is respawning them at the bottom of the firing range, and I had a couple teammates just spawn up by the showers, little red building at the other end of the trailers. But then the spawn splits. Watch either corner of the top of the screen as enemies start spawning in on opposite sides of the map. That should not happen. But that spawn moves immediately again, and now they're right behind the trailer, and I would be screwed here except for that RC car takes out the guy at the bottom of the tires ramp. The guy that gets me in the back, well, he just died in building number 1 less than 5 seconds ago. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Firing range is simply too small for a 6-on-6 game, and you're gonna get this kind of mess. So let's go ahead and look at a game on a larger map. Now, this is Team Death, all these examples are, and I know there's not a strong affinity for any particular area of the map like there are in some of the objective game modes, but that's no reason you can't work a team back into their own spawn and take advantage of being able to push them around the map. As it is right now, things just go everywhere. Now, the game is about to respawn an enemy here, and I'm going to pause it for just a second, and I want you to guess where that enemy is going to respawn, just based on where everyone else on the map is. There's really no reason not to spawn someone on the far right, but instead the game spawns them on the far left. And just like that, instead of spawning in our original spawn over on the far left, my teammate respawns on the far right near the enemy's original spawn. Now, that enemy spawning on the far left, that's not really a terrible spawn because no one's in a gunfight, no one can see each other, but it is really a surprise for us to have them start spawning in our original spawn before we've done anything to really push in on their side, or before a lot of them have made it onto our side. Now, my team is pretty decent about keeping spy planes up and keeping an eye on that minimap, so even if we don't have a spy plane up, we can tell where everyone on our team is and get a feel for kind of where we expect the enemy to be. But there's this constant assumption that this place you spawned in should be safe for at least a little while until something actually causes that to change. But we'll see that the thing that causes the biggest shift in terms of spawns is for the enemy to spawn back where we had been, and then that forces our new spawn all the way onto the opposite side of the map because the enemies are where we had been spawning. So here I'm going to stop it again with another similar example. A teammate's going to respawn, and where do you think it's going to be? Well, I figured this out by now, but he's going to spawn on the far right side of the map. So what is this really doing? This seems to be eliminating the idea of pushing a team back into their spawn. Treyarch really makes this map work around the very center of it, and you don't get much going on the far ends. And I kind of agree with that in general, but if you push in at all, you'll find that they're spawning behind you, and reacting to that can be a really difficult thing to do. Rightly so. A flanking maneuver is normally a pretty strong one if you can pull it off against someone who's not expecting it. And so this is the drawback I see. There's no real benefit to trying to flank and get around behind them, because as soon as you do, they're spawning somewhere else, and you're probably hurting your teammates as much as anything else because they won't spawn far enough back so that your teammates can react before they end up getting killed themselves. No, we start dropping napalm strikes and the spawns just go crazy. I'm not even going to try to make sense of all the silly stuff that happens here. I think this spawn issue also plays a large part in why Ghost is so effective. Another spawn flip coming up here. They start spawning on the left, we start spawning on the right. It's just crazy. Anyway, Ghost, since you don't have to take some careful, cautious routes out of your spawn, maybe cover yourself with some smoke, in order to really make use of that not showing up on the UAV ability, it makes it so much easier to use. So instead of having to carefully navigate around the map, a Ghost user can just spawn in behind the enemy team without attack in or any such thing, and start doing damage immediately. In some cases, the first indication that your team's spawn is moving may be that one of your teammates spawns on the opposite side of the map, in which case, as you're seeing the examples here, probably means that one of the enemies has spawned on your side. Or, if that hasn't already happened, it probably will very soon. Now let me talk about why split spawns, where teammates spawn far apart from each other nearly at the same time, is a bad thing. First and foremost, it reduces the number of spawn points available to the other team. Second, it confuses both teams about which point is the primary spawn at that time. And finally, being in between a split spawn of your enemies is almost a certain death sentence. Even a really good player is going to have a hard time getting out of that. So watch the bottom right corner. An enemy spawns in right as his teammates start coming in on the far left side of the map. It's no surprise that he's only alive a few seconds before my team respawns and pushes him out of that area. He doesn't have any teammates to help him there. Here's yet another example. The right side of the map is pretty well controlled by my team, but I have a teammate spawn in on the far left side, and immediately he's able to engage the enemies from behind. It doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, you may have guessed where this is going by now. What I like are maps with safe spawns on the outside edges of the map. A safe spawn will give the people spawning there both lighting and cover advantages on the people trying to camp that spawn. Also give them ways to get out of the spawn to try to retake map control. And as you can see, the spawns on the left and the right side of this map, there's no cover, there's no lighting advantage there, and as you spawn in there, your only hope for staying alive for very long is that you don't encounter an enemy right off your spawn. Okay, so let me find another example besides launch, a larger map with buildings and cover around the outside edges of the map that should give people plenty of safe places to spawn in where they can decide where they want to go and what they want to do without being engaged immediately. And Cracked fits that bill perfectly, so we'll start the timer, things go, we're going to charge out there, a couple people are going to die, it's going to be 2-0, and a guy by the name of Double Ariser is going to run out in the middle of the map and die. And in under 12 seconds, he has made it all the way across the map by respawning. Now, for some reason, I got the great idea to put a motion sensor down on my own spawn, and he's shooting me in the back by the time I put it down. Fortunately, I shoot him, and then he immediately respawns on the opposite side of the map. This spawning on the opposite side at the very beginning of the game is a constant issue, and I'm not sure if it's related to the later spawn issues or if it's its own separate issue because it doesn't really assign you a spawn point at the start of a game. Either way, it's obvious that this is just complete nonsense, and Treyarch has done a terrible job with it. And I really need to point out that I didn't go looking for games with spawn problems. These are just the first few games that I happen to remember any issue at all because I didn't know where to look, but as I went back and looked through more, it happens all the time. If you're the kind of gamer that likes the random spawns and the chaos it brings, I suggest free-for-all. If you like working with a team, well, the spawns have a long way to go before you can really trust your team, because if your teammate just cleared out an area and a guy spawns there, you'll think he didn't do his job right, when in fact it was just the spawn system that got you killed and nothing you or your teammate did wrong. Or, if you're looking for more tactical gameplay, figure out where the line of fighting is, and in the no man's land, and then flank around and pick up several easy kills by your map knowledge and by being a ghost, well, I'm sorry, but Black Ops really isn't the game for you. And I think these issues are the big reason why Black Ops is often considered boring. That's in addition to the whole playing 6-on-2, whatever have you, because it won't join people to games in progress. When there are a few people constantly spread out all over the map, and your best chance of getting a multi-kill is to spray several of them down off their spawn as they run through a choke point, it's not as climactic as when you finally do get behind them or manage to pick off several people who are in concealed positions in quick succession. So there you have it. Spawn control and map control being synonymous, Black Ops punishes players who try to learn and use both of them, and really actively discourages new players from trying to learn about how to work spawns and map control in general. Okay, that's what I had to say. If you're still listening, thank you. I'm sorry it was kind of a 10-minute long rant about Black Ops spawns, but I really wanted to do this. I am curious what all of your opinions are on this, and what your thoughts on the Black Ops spawn system are, and what Treyarch can do to really improve it. And if you thought you were going to get out of here without a Nuketown video, well, you must be right, but let me just use this to remind you that it's the spawns, stupid.